I want to start by saying that this isn't the original Pit Talk video we intended to make. 3 weeks ago, Bradley told you that Pit Talk would be a series that addressed real conversations between students in the pit. We'd planned to do an episode showcasing the UNC Cypher, but then this happened.
Wow. And then Tulsa, I mean, my gosh, it's just shocking.
So hundreds of
Charlotte
protesters.
police have released body and data.
And so again,
And suddenly it didn't feel right releasing a Pit Talk episode that didn't address the news of the last 3 weeks. Events which have been and will continue to be talked about in the pit and elsewhere on campus. But in recent years in America, it feels like the way we've talked about traumatic events has changed. 21 days ago, we marked 15 years since the 9/11 attacks. In the aftermath, several late-night talk shows went off the air out of respect for the collective pain felt across the country. One of those shows was The Daily Show, which came back on the air 9 days after the attacks. Jon Stewart was visibly shaken and upset, but his opening monologue provided some of the most emotional few minutes of late-night television.
There's no other way really to start the show than to ask you at home the question that we asked the audience here tonight, and that we've asked everybody that we know here in New York since September 11th, and that is, are you okay?
Are you okay? A simple, almost parental question with no argument that asks you about you as a person with thoughts and feelings and that doesn't force you to choose a side, make an argument, or turn you against anyone else. The events of the last few weeks weren't 9/11, but they still involved the unnecessary loss of life no more or less valuable than our own. But in the wake of all this sadness and hurting, when outrage was spilling into the streets of a city in which many of us grew up, it felt like we'd stopped asking one another, "Are you okay?" and started to immediately ask, "Whose side are you on?" Picking sides isn't inherently bad. In fact, history shows us the dire need for everyone to stand with the side that represents justice, moral goodness, and equality. But the fact is, we don't leave time to even make an effort to understand one another anymore before we feel like we have to have an opinion. We ask, "Are you with me or are you against me?" and not, "Are you okay?" You only need to scroll through your Facebook news feeds in the hours after some terrible event to see how bad our divides have truly gotten, where statuses are marked by 37 replies and an argument that began political but quickly turned personal. All of this begs the question, where do we go from here? Ultimately, that's up to us and how willing we are to change and to listen. It's no secret that we're politically divided, but those fractures are bleeding into our schools and our neighborhoods. Our choice about whether or not we try to understand one another is one of the most urgent decisions we'll have to make, and that will shape the future of this country for better or worse. Going through all those videos you just saw, deciding what to use in this episode, it was hard not to feel hopeless. Something happened though when we went back through our footage of the UNC Cypher. The past few weeks of unrest cast the whole thing in a completely different light. The Cypher was a public, physical space, a random sample of UNC students coming or going, students from all different races, cultures, gender identities, and corners of campus. There was no block feature, no ultimatums, just a drum set, dictionary, and a handful of people brave enough to stand up and try. This was what community felt like, something the pictures and words in a brochure can't capture. When you feel that belonging, even for just a few fleeting hours on a Wednesday night, you can try to bring it back with you to wherever you're going and keep it long after you've walked too far away to hear the music.